The story begins in a Soviet central prison in 1973, where a prisoner named Bohemian had been jailed about 2 years ago. He noticed that Captain Wakils was a cruel man who took pleasure in beating prisoners severely. Soon, Bohemian learned about a workshop where every inmate dreamed of working. In fact, any prisoner who worked there for 2 days would have 3 days taken off their sentence. Plus, focusing on work made the days pass more easily. One day, the warden called Bohemian to his office and offered him a chance to reduce his sentence. He wanted Bohemian to form a team that could double the workshop's productivity. The warden promised that if the team succeeded in doubling output within a year, Bohemian would be released. The warden said Bohemian could choose any prisoner he wanted for his team. But when Bohemian said he wanted to pick a prisoner named Hatchet, the warden flatly refused. In fact, Hatchet was a very dangerous killer. He had brutally killed 2 people. But when Bohemian said he was hardworking and vital to the team, the warden agreed. Finally, Bohemian formed his team with Hatchet, Needle, Old Master, and Crazy. Bohemian's friends were wary of Hatchet, so he advised them to let him work without talking. Actually, Bohemian and Hatchet are good friends because Hatchet saved Bohemian's life earlier. Soon, their team arrived at the workshop to work. There, Needle started teasing a guard, which made him very angry. But he couldn't beat Needle now because they had important workshop work to do. We then see all the prisoners preparing to start their work. Shortly after, the guard came and gave everyone chocolates because his wife had given birth to a boy. But later, the captain warned the guard to keep his distance from the prisoners, saying they were no different from animals. No matter what, if they thought the guard was soft-tempered, they would chew him raw. Bohemian's team's troubles began when Hatchet refused to start the machine. When the captain signaled to Bohemian, he went to Hatchet, and then Hatchet told him a pigeon was trapped in the machine. Now they all tried to open the machine together, but they did not have the tools for this work. Then the captain and the guard came there to see what the opinion was. Although the pigeon was trapped in the machine, the captain still ordered to start the machine. Then the captain asked the guard to run the machine. But as soon as the guard started pressing the button, Hatchet grabbed him by the neck and started saying that until the pigeon was free, the machine would not start at any cost. Suddenly, Needle attacked the captain from behind and knocked him unconscious. Then he told Cressy to close the door. Seeing all this, Bohemian was very nervous because the matter was getting out of hand. Now the captain and the guard were in his possession, and he was aware of the further plan. I thought Bohemian would call the police and tell the truth, but Hatchet threatened to kill the captain if he did. The captain angrily said none of them would survive, which scared them all. Then Bohemian suggested they leave the captain and guard and get back to work. Master and Crazy agreed, but Needle knew if he let the captain go, he'd lose his life. Bohemian tries to free the guard from Hatchet, but Hatchet says work won't start until the pigeon is free. Bohemian tried to open the machine again, but failed. Hatchet threatened to kill the guard if the pigeon died. The captain laughed, asking why Hatchet cared so much about a bird. He then mocked Hatchet's dead brother, which enraged Hatchet. He charged at the captain, but others restrained him. Now Bohemian knew that soon the rest of the prison guards would come there. That's why he planned to release the captain and the guards so that in return, he too could go back to jail safely. Well, in a short time, the guards came and started knocking on the door, and then the captain shouted and told them the whole situation. Bohemian. He went to the door and said his thing. But then the guards opened the door from outside. Then a guard got into the car and went to call the other guards, the old man there. The master said he would go out and talk to the guards. Then he raised his hand and went out of the door, and a guard attacked him. He pointed the gun. Then suddenly the guard fired without any reason. The master died on the spot. When Bohemian and his companions learned of this, Bohemian angrily broke the control unit, causing the door to close again. The warden said he wanted to talk to the inmates and resolve the issue. He tried to send the police away so prisoners wouldn't act rashly out of fear, but the police chief refused to budge from his position. Meanwhile, the inmates were trapped inside, unsure of what to do. Bohemian gave the captain water, suggesting they surrender to the police. Cressy warned they'd all face the same fate as the old master. Hatchet threatened to kill the guard and captain if anyone opened the door. Everyone realized they needed to get the pigeon out alive to survive. The police chief gave the warden 1 hour to resolve the situation. The warden then used a mic to tell inmates to release the hostages. Gordon tried to reassure them that nothing would happen, and to forget this incident as a simple mistake. Then Bohemian decided to try opening the machine again. He took the key from the captain and freed Hatchet from his chains. When Needle objected, Bohemian said he'd only opened the door after freeing the pigeon. This sparked a fight between Needle and Bohemian. Needle was about to kill Bohemian with a tool when Hatchet grabbed him from behind and slammed him against the wall. Then they all focused on opening the machine. Hatchet quickly pried open the lid with his strong arms, but another layer remained. They saw the pigeon was still alive. Bohemian asked Hatchet why he cared so much about saving a pigeon. Hatchet explained that he has recurring nightmares of being buried alive in a grave. He screams terribly, but ultimately suffocates to death. Now he saw himself in this pigeon's predicament, and for some reason, he felt that if this pigeon survived, maybe he'd survive too, and his nightmares would finally end. Well, Bohemian asked the guard to help open the machine, but he said they should free the captain first so he could go out and tell the police everything. But Needle refused to let him go, and then suddenly struck the captain with a piece of wood. Bohemian explained to the guard, "Look, if we let the captain go, you'll die with us. The government won't hesitate to use bullets just to save you." Then Bohemian threatened to chain up the guard too, so he agreed to help. Meanwhile, outside, the police, captain, and warden were trying to figure out how to resolve this situation. Borden was sure the captain and guard were still alive. In the workshop, Cressy and the guard went to get a tool from another room. Cressy said Hatchet wasn't always a bad person. One night ruined his entire life. That night, Hatchet's brother was a wedding, and he had had too much to drink when Hatchet's brother tried to get him to stop. Drunk Hatchet ended up killing his own brother. Then when their father attempted to intervene, Hatchet took his life too. After some time passed and he regained sobriety, Hatchet, filled with regret, turned himself into the police. Then all the prisoners became involved in trying to open the machine. Then the warden from outside called Bohemian to the door for a word. Actually, an hour of his grace period was already up, but Bohemian stated that he would need another hour to get the pigeon out alive. Then the warden began conversing with the incarcerated captain, and he told him there wasn't a pigeon here. These prisoners were just looking for an opportunity to escape. Regardless, then the warden said that they had 60 more minutes to release the captain and guard. Then the warden reminded Bohemian of why he should mess with his own life. "I told you that I would finish you within 1 year after the workshop work was complete." But when the rest of them heard this, they were filled with rage. Because of this, the meaning was that the Bohemians had used them to their advantage. Seeing this, the captain started laughing loudly, and Bohemian punched him. Then, when he began to release the captain, Needle opposed him. Then Bohemian said that they would only release the captain and keep the guard captive. Then when Bohemian came out with the captain, suddenly the police chief fired at him. Now Bohemian immediately brought the captain back in, and things worsened again. Outside, Borden angrily punched the police chief in the face. The chief said, "What happened, brother? His time is over. Our soldiers should be removed." Then many soldiers came there in a truck. On the other hand, all the prisoners managed to punch holes in the lid of the machine. Then the Bohemian put his hand in it and tried to pull the pigeon out, but the Needle did not even touch the lid with the help of a grinder. Tried, but to no avail. Eventually, they decided to make another hole, but they didn't have the tools they needed. Then Bohemian took the key to the room with the tools from the captain. Right there outside, the soldiers had prepared to storm the workshop. Inside, the prisoner welded. They were engaged in melting iron with machines, but they did not know how to operate the machine. Then the captain came forward to help them. Here, the captain was grinding iron, and on the other hand, the soldiers prepared to explode the bomb on the door, finally opening the prisoner machine. I succeeded, but the pigeon did not want to fly from there. Only then did the captain pull out his gun and pointed it at the prisoners. But suddenly the hatchet jumped out and he grabbed the neck. Then the hatchet brutally killed him by crushing his head. And seeing this, the guard turned around, after which the hatchet pigeon. He took it out and cleaned it with water. Then suddenly there was a tremendous explosion on the door, and many soldiers entered. All the prisoners lay on the ground in fear, but the hatchet stood up and blew the pigeon into the air when the police chief ordered to be fired and hatched on the spot after this incident. He died, but the rest of the prisoners lay on the ground. Only the pigeon was free. The police chief tried to kill him too, but the guard stopped him from behind. The guard lied that Hatchet, all of them were kept captive, and that why the prisoners were kept without any punishment. Kay was sent back to prison and became the Hatchet hero for Bohemian and his team. The purpose of Hatchet's life is fulfilled as soon as he frees the pigeon. Went and it was walking, so do you think Hatchet corrected the comments? I'll see you in the next video.